Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, hey, everybody, and thank you for tuning in tonight. It's postseason time officially for Major League Baseball. Unfortunately, though, the Atlanta Braves not participating this year for the first time in feels like forever. The Braves are not involved in the playoffs, and there's a lot of pointing fingers going around on social media. A lot of people pointing fingers at Brian Snitker, wanting him to hang it up. Finally, a lot of people are pointing fingers at the front office. A lot of people are pointing fingers at the players. A lot of people are pointing fingers at Liberty Media, the ownership. Here's the thing. This is what I'm going to say. We're going to talk about who's to blame, what went right, what went wrong, and everything really in between tonight. I want to start by saying that 2025 will not be remembered fondly when it comes to the Atlanta Braves. There's no doubt about that. Of course, it's going to be remembered for a few things. We're going to remember this as the year that all 5 starting pitchers were injured and out for the season. This will be remembered as the season that the Braves started the year 0-7. It'll be remembered as the first time in 8 years that the Braves aren't playing in October. So again, it will not be remembered fondly, certainly not by us. And I fully believe that the Braves have the potential to take this year, turn it around, and move into next season, and possibly win the division next year and make a run in the playoffs. I firmly believe that, because I still think the team has the talent to do so when it's corresponded with additional talent to back it up, i.e. the bullpen, i.e. position players that aren't on the starting roster, and the right kind of caliber players around. Not to mention a shortstop, right? Relievers. I think that we just weren't quite equipped with the talent that we already have, because let's be honest, the guys that we have, Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, and so many others, Michael Harris, there's a lot of guys that, this is a World Series team on paper, right? The expectation at the beginning of the year was that this was going to be a year where we were once again in the playoffs and really making a push, because we were in the playoffs in 2024. I covered it. I covered the night we clinched. And as good as that felt, it felt almost like a down year, which we're very lucky that making the playoffs doesn't feel like a win, but it felt like a down year because the Braves had so many injuries. And that's the other component to this, is that the Braves did indeed have a whirlwind of injuries, and that cannot be overlooked. When we take an audit of 2025, when we look at 2025 and we actually look at everything that happened, we take an audit of it, and we start to point fingers, and we in retrospect remember a lot of this stuff. That's when you're going to see why the season happened the way it did. The big question is, who is to blame, right? We kind of went through that earlier. I've asked that question before, but never before on this scale. Never for an entire season. Normally when I ask this question, it's who's to blame for why we didn't advance in this series? Who's to blame for why we got swept in this series? This year, there's a lot of reasons to point fingers. This did not live up to expectations, and there's no doubt about it. And truth be told, I've been very lucky as a guy who covers the Braves on YouTube and follows the Braves and goes to the park and gets to talk to these guys. I've been very lucky since 2020 that they've been really good, right? In 2020, the Braves made the playoffs, right? They were eliminated by the Dodgers in the championship series in the National League. 2021, they won the World Series. 22, if you remember, they came back from 10.5 games back, beating the Mets, eliminating them, later being eliminated in the DS. 2023 was a phenomenal year. One of the greatest offenses of all time. Acuna wins the MVP, still eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. 2024, they defy the odds and somehow make the playoffs in the wild card. They earned that wild card spot, did not make it to a division series. And then this year, for the first time since I've really been on this channel, they don't make the playoffs, which is disheartening to say the least. But that said, I'm in new territory here. This isn't something I am overly familiar with. And I've never been a big fan at pointing fingers. Those of you that are longtime watchers, you know that's never been my jam. I've never been one to call for somebody's job, never been one to do that kind of thing. I have been a Brian Snitker defender almost to my detriment for a long time. I'd have better numbers if I was calling for his job every week, but I don't, because I actually believe Brian Snitker is one of the best managers in baseball when he has a team that he can manage. And this year, I just feel like that wasn't the case. But I got some problems with this season, and I've stayed pretty quiet throughout the year. I haven't done as many videos as I normally do because this year hasn't gone exactly how we would have hoped. In part, I've also been pretty busy with getting married and other things, but that's neither here nor there. I wanted to wait to do this video until now because I wanted a full season where we can actually diagnose some of these problems. Let's start with who's not to blame. This ought to go well. Number one, I am not blaming Brian Snitker for this year. Some of you guys are going to hate that. Let it out. Get it out. Let me know in the comments section how you disagree with me. But I'm not blaming him because I can't blame him on this. My comment section is regularly littered with people calling for Brian Snitker's job, hoping he retires at the end of the year. And this isn't a new phenomenon. This has been going on long before the Braves won the World Series in 21. It's been going on for quite a while. Sleepy Snit, you name it, I've heard it in the comment section. And I hear you. But this year, I don't know if you can blame it on a manager. No matter who was the manager, I don't know if you can blame it on the manager, right? The manager's responsibility at the end of the day is to create the lineup, choose a reliever out of the pen at any given time, the roster makeup to some degree working in tandem with the GM, and then overall team energy. That is the manager's total real involvement and his main job, right? So ask yourself, what lineup changes could Snit have made this year that would have made us win enough games to make the playoffs? Short answer, none. What bullpen move within his own roster could have turned this season around? Short answer, none. What roster move within the organization, not going out and getting a free agent or making a trade within the organization, would have made that big of a difference? None. The only one I'll give you any kind of agreement on is team energy, because it did feel like this year there were some question marks in that department, right? There's never been a question of, is this team ready to play? Is this team doing well? Is this team playing in the right attitude? There's never been a question of that over the years, mainly because this team has been ultra successful for a long time. This year, that was a bit different because when you start the season 0 for 7, that question's going to be asked. So if you're going to ask me, do I think that the team energy was on 100? No, I don't. However, that said, where you criticize, you have to give credit. And even after they were eliminated, to go on the 10-game win streak shows you something. I don't know what it shows you, but it shows you something. And if you're going to give flack for that 0 for 7, you got to give credit for the 10-game win streak as well. In the second half, I do think that the team somewhat course-corrected, but it was too late. It was too late to make any real amends. So you can knock him on team energy, but in terms of his actual nuts and bolts putting this team together, day to day, I don't think you can really flack him because there were so many injuries. There were so many just odd things, not to mention, Profar's out for the first couple of months of the season. Under the circumstances, I don't know a manager that would have been that much more successful. And I guess that's where I'll leave it. I can't blame Snitker for this year's result. I can, whether or not he comes back or not is still up in the air. I will tell you, and I've said this on the channel before, some of you are going to like it, some of you aren't. I hope he does, because it's not so much about the unfinished business narrative that's out there that's all fine and dandy. I hope he feels like he's got unfinished business after a year like this year. I absolutely hope he does. It's more along the lines of, I want some continuity in the clubhouse. And unfortunately for those out there that want Snit gone, you're not going to have that continuity unless you go with a guy like Walt Weiss. And all due respect to Walt Weiss, who's been in the clubhouse for a number of years now, I don't know what the real difference there would be. And you're losing your veteran leadership in a lot of ways in Snit, who has been at the helm. The guys do love playing for him. By all accounts, that seems to be the case. All in all, I'll tell you that there's not a lot of them better than Snit. I caught up with Joe Torre at the All-Star game. That short is out on the channel right now, and he spoke about Snitker and how happy he was that Snit got the job, and basically talked about the job he's doing. And no disrespect to anybody in the chat or anybody that watches the channel, but a guy like Joe Torre, who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame, when he gives you that thumbs up, that means something. And I just got to tell you, for those of you that want him gone, I disagree. Now, if he was to walk out on his own terms and be content with what he's done, I wish him the best. It's nothing like we got to have him back. It's not so much that, but you don't want to necessarily leave him on a bad note. You don't want him to leave the team on a bad note. You want there to be a nice transfer. And think about this. When Bobby Cox left, the team was still pretty good. When Freddie Gonzalez left, it wasn't. That's what Snit inherited. And he turned it into a World Series winning team, along with the help of Alex Anthopoulos and the front office over the years. But he has led that turnaround. And it will be an end of an era whenever Brian Snitker hangs it up. But I am just not ready for him to walk out just yet. Because here's the thing. He was, as much as people want to criticize him day in, day out, he was the manager in 2021 when they won. He's still that guy, and I hope he's back in 2026. So, if Brian Snitker is not to blame, what about GM Alex Anthopoulos? This is one of those guys that has gotten a lot of fingers pointed at him. And I'll tell you, early on this year, I was very disappointed with the lack of moves entering the season. I didn't expect that. I really thought the Braves had moved to a point financially where that wouldn't be the case. But they punted on that, and looking back, that is, of course, probably misjudgment. I really wanted us to attack starting pitching. We lost Morton, who, of course, we got back later. Not that it mattered, really, but we lost Morton, we lost Fried. I really thought that we needed to shore up our rotation. I thought we really needed to bolster our bullpen. Neither of those really happened. And I couldn't really argue with it because of the rotation that was planned. I mean, you had 6 guys that could be in your rotation when healthy. You had Chris Sale. Spencer Strider was still in the process of coming back on opening day. Spencer Schwellenbach, who had a terrific rookie campaign in 24. Reynaldo Lopez, who had a really good 2024 All-Star year. A.J. Smith-Shawver was on the back end of that rotation when fully healthy. And you had Grant Holmes in your rotation on opening day. Well, who could have imagined that Spencer Strider would be the last man standing? All 5 of your opening day guys gone. Who could have imagined that? So as much as I would get on the GM, Alex Anthopoulos, about not doing anything prior to the season, bolstering the pen, getting any starting pitchers, no one could have seen that coming. Because let's be real, they were depending on those guys to cover innings, right? To make the bullpen better by having the bullpen cover less innings. They were going to depend on Sale, Schwellenbach, Reynaldo Lopez, A.J. Smith-Shawver to cover innings, right, as much as possible. And then once you get to the trade deadline, if you're still competitive, or especially if you're in first place, maybe then we can go out and get some guys on some deals, and maybe we can figure some stuff out. That would seem to be the plan, and it just bit them. No way around that. The planned rotation was solid. I think it would be solid next year if everybody comes back healthy. No one could have expected what happened to the rotation. That's really the killer. That's the killer. So if you want to blame anything, that would be the thing I'd point to. But if you want to blame someone, well, then we have to dig a little deeper. So, some of you out there will ask, well, why didn't he get anyone at the trade deadline? Why didn't that happen? Why would you put inventory into a sinking ship? the Braves weren't competitive at the deadline. I wanted them to. I was live on the air at the deadline. I was sitting here hoping something would happen because in 2021, I didn't think those 6 moves would happen either, and then they did, and we know how that resulted. But the other component to this, and we've talked about it extensively this year, is the luxury tax. The luxury tax matters. To fans, it doesn't matter, right? But to the organization, it does. So, could AA and the front office have done more? Sure. There's no denying that the front office band-aided the bullpen, strung it along to get it maybe to the trade deadline, and maybe you do some little moves here and there to keep it along. But the real plan here is that they were going to try to live within the constraints under that luxury tax, and try to get to the end of the season resetting that luxury tax. So, as much as you want to criticize Alex Anthopoulos for not going after guys in the bullpen, keep that in mind, but also keep in mind that he tried in the offseason. Of course, we found out that Jeff Hoffman was offered a 5-year deal, somewhere around $45 to $48 million, which would have kept us under the luxury tax. This was the big move. This was the big splash that the Braves were trying to go for. He did not pass his physical, which, by the way, with Toronto this year, his ERA of 2.17 in 2024 spiraled and ballooned to 4.76. His walks per 9 went up. His K per 9 went down. So I would say that the Braves made the right call in not going with Jeff Hoffman on a 5-year deal. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that the front office couldn't have made another move or two. I don't know that there were any moves that they liked or that were perfect that presented itself other than Jeff Hoffman. Atlanta and especially the front office probably figured that they could hold out. They could wait to the trade deadline. They could maybe wait and get something a little better at the deadline. And then the rotation crumbled, and the chances of that drastically went down. There was no reason for an aggressive trade deadline after that. And again, why invest in a product that's too far gone? So, if Alex Anthopoulos isn't to blame, if Brian Snitker isn't to blame, what about ownership? That's the real doozy, isn't it? We've talked quite a bit about the finances over the past few minutes, and one would think that I'm going to point the finger at ownership. Liberty Media has gotten quite a bit of criticism over the years. The Braves have gotten quite a bit of criticism over the years. You know, earlier this year, if you remember, it was announced that, hey, we're going to spend money on this parking deck in this new area, this new property, right? We're going to spend all this money on that. And I remember seeing the Facebook comments where it was, well, why don't you spend money on the team, right? Why don't you spend money on being competitive? That's a fair criticism. I'm not even going to get on to you about that. That said, it's pennies on the dollar, but I still get the point. That was the mood of fans in general. And again, I can't really fault them for that. But is it on the ownership? Well, it comes to how you look at it. It all comes back to that luxury tax. The luxury tax is always going to be a factor this year. I believed it would be pivotal in Atlanta's ability to be competitive in the trade market, in the free agency market. Anthopoulos really has always spent his money wisely, so the luxury tax didn't really bother me at the beginning of the year because I know that we got a guy in power that's going to handle it as he sees fit, and probably the team will probably be pretty good anyway, right? That tends to be the case. Well, not this year. And you can blame ownership if you want, but the real key is that they wanted to reset that luxury tax. They wanted to not spend that money and to reset the luxury tax so that they could spend money more freely, not only next year, but the years following that. It's a 3-year cycle. It goes up and up and up. And if you can find a year where you can reset it without completely altering your team, you might want to take that opportunity. And the Braves decided to. All in all, this is what I'll say about it. It's a smart move to, of course, stay under the luxury tax and reset it. The ability to spend money next year, if indeed they do that, it creates a better future. Hopefully. That's the hope. So all I can say is if you're mad at the ownership, wait a while before you show your emotions, right? Because you may just have to wait it out. You may have to see what results of this, right? Let's see what happens this off season, right? Who could we go out and get? Will we sign Ha-Seong Kim? Will we sign a couple starting pitchers, maybe a Dylan Cease? Will we sign those guys, or will this be yet another season like 2025's off season? 2025 was a perfect storm of saving money and running into injuries. 2026 will hopefully be a season of spending money and staying healthy. That's what I'm hoping for. That's all we can hope for. But in terms of who's to blame, it's a perfect storm. There's nobody in particular. I don't think you can point the finger at Snitker. He's working with what he's being given. Alex Anthopoulos is working from what he's being given. Liberty Media is working within constraints to stay under the luxury tax. Now, if your opinion is we shouldn't stay under the luxury tax, we are that team that can be competitive at that financial level, that's your opinion. The Braves obviously didn't feel that way. So all things considered, I would say it's nobody's fault, which, isn't necessarily what a lot of you guys are going to want to hear. It isn't anybody's fault. It's a weird way this thing all came together. It's a sad year. It was miserable for the fans. I don't discount that. But I do believe that 2026 will be better. There's no way it can't be. If it's not, then we need to make some major changes all the way around. But for right now, I'm content with bringing Brian Snitker back. I am content with Alex Anthopoulos keeping his job. I am content with pretty much all of it. I'm content with the team as is. I want it to improve. I want it, maybe to feature some new stars at shortstop, either Ha-Seong Kim or whoever else, someone equal or better. And of course, I want to get some bullpen guys. Other than that, there's not a lot else you can expect out of the Braves front office. A lot of people on here are going to tell you otherwise. That's how I feel. When we return, we're going to talk about Ron Washington and getting terminated by the Angels and what that could mean for the future and whether or not he'll come to Atlanta.
Are you looking for a powerful new Chevrolet or GMC truck and a great deal? Check them out side by side at Glenn Smith in Opelika. Take your choice of new Chevrolet and GMC 1500 trucks discounted up to $12,000 off. Chevy and GMC heavy-duty trucks discounted up to $7,000 off. People from all over the USA save at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika, Alabama. Get ready to smile.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Well, we got the news earlier today that Ron Washington would be leaving the Anaheim Angels, not by his own choice. He was basically fired by the Anaheim Angels, and this was upsetting. I'll be honest with you. I was so happy for Ron when he got the job because he'd always wanted to go back to managing after managing Texas and making it to a World Series. And, of course, he finally got his World Series ring with the Braves, but now he's gone from the Angels. So what does that mean for the future of the Braves? Well, will Ron Washington come back? That's a real question. I don't know, but we're going to have to wait and see. I think ultimately, I think that would make sense if he doesn't get another managing job. I don't think his resume has necessarily improved as a manager going into 2026, being with the Angels for this past year or two. I don't know that it's necessarily improved, obviously, with the health scare, which you hate to see that. But obviously with the health scare, I don't know that a lot of teams are going to want to take that chance. There's a good chance that a lot of them won't. I personally will tell you, as a guy who has met Ron Washington, had a conversation with him, super nice guy, and a guy that just knows ball. There's no way around it. He is more than capable of being a manager when healthy. I think he is a great asset to have in the clubhouse. We all know that. And I genuinely would love to see him back in Atlanta. As a guy who's met him, as a guy who knows how much he loves being a manager, I hope he gets another managing job. But if he needs a home, he's already got one in Atlanta. And I think it would be a shame if we don't bring him back. That would be my take on that. So that's what I think about pretty much everything going on right now. And it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. And the postseason is going on. I believe the Yankees won earlier, courtesy of Max Fried. That's always good to see former Braves doing well. And obviously we'd love for him to be doing well on the Braves. But, you know, it is what it is. My mistake. The Red Sox actually won, but Fried still pitched fairly well. I saw the first half of that game. Fried, 6 1/3 pitched, no earned runs. The Yankee bullpen failed him. So, hate to see that, but Red Sox are up. The Dodgers are currently leading the Reds. If you do like to watch live sports, but you don't have access to it, good place to go is my good buddy On the Go with CeeLo. Some of you guys are probably tuning in over there, I'm sure. But we'll see. We're going to switch it over to the comments section. Bear with me. Let's drag that over. A lot of you guys are in here tonight. Please do us a favor. Like the video if you have not already. It really does help us out. Yasuki Knight says, should be interesting to see what the team does this offseason. I think we got to go get some starters, solidify the injured, questionable rotation, at least one, maybe two. Because I don't think Ronaldo Lopez is coming back to be a starter. I could be wrong, but I don't think he is. You got to get a shortstop. If it's Ha-Sung Kim, great. If not, you need someone equal to or better. Love Nick Allen. Love the defense. But the bat's got to be better, and I think we all are aware of that. The bullpen was the biggest problem in 2025. It was a problem before the season. It was a problem during the season. There was a lot of one-run games that could have went either way that we didn't win because of the pen, and I think we need to reconstruct, and frankly, I think we need to spend money on the bullpen. That would be my off-season plan that I would hand to Alex Anthopoulos and say, do this, if I could. The Braves will be back next year. This is really embarrassing for the Mets. They have had a better season than the Braves, and you still miss the playoffs. Funny you say that.
Well, the whole season is falling apart. Ever since Michael came out there and cursed him, and now Sanger's hurt, out for who knows how long, and we're going to watch Frankie Montas come in. Frankie Montas can't get out little leaguers. And then we got Miguel over here smiling as he gets tattooed. Blackburn getting tattooed. The Mets are going to give up 9 runs a game. 9 runs a game. And then
my sentiments exactly. Thank you, Frank. Yasuki Knight says, I was 25 and the last time the Braves weren't in the playoffs. Well, I'm 26. I don't know how old you are, but I guess you're probably in your 30s, I guess. So, yeah, it's been a while. Jeffrey Humphreys says, good evening, Tyler. Thank you, Jeff. Herbert says, how many teams have 4 out of 5 starting pitchers on the IL at the same time? I believe it's part of the script. You couldn't have wrote it any worse. Sergeant Gibby says, it's all Snicker's fault. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. 50% Snit, 50% Anthopoulos. I don't even know about that. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's a money problem that turned into a roster problem that turned into a team problem. And hopefully it can be, it can be turned around. Yasuki Knight says, where was this heat for Bobby Cox? We love Bobby Cox in this studio. What I'll tell you is Bobby Cox had the benefit of not playing during the era of the internet. If Bobby Cox was managing today, y'all probably wanted to fire him twice as much as Smith. You probably would think he gets ejected too much and, he needs to get fired. Soul Still Burns says, it would have made a big difference not going into the season missing our best players, for sure. Hopefully everybody comes back healthy next year, specifically Ozzy Albies. The start to his year was just abysmal, and coming off another injury next year, I really hope he can figure it out. Jeffrey Humphrey says, you can't cry injuries is the main reason we had a bad season. Our core players couldn't hit nearly up to their potential for a long time. Don't disagree with that. I just mentioned Ozzy Albies, though. Ozzy Albies was coming off injuries. There's no way around that. Broken wrist, I think, last year. He's now broken his hand again. He broke his foot. Sorry, my dog is in here. He broke his foot. There was a lot of different injuries that happened with Ozzy that he was coming off of. And it's not necessarily that he's still hurt. He's obviously able to play. It's more so working his way back and feeling natural. And I think it took till the second half for that to happen with him. Michael Harris, I don't know. The changing approach, he went back to normal is what it looked like to me about halfway through the season. Matt Olson played pretty true through the year. Austin Riley was for the most part solid. We can all point at it, but injuries are a reality. And the people who are out there that go, you can't just blame injuries. Well, when your entire rotation goes out, that's when you can blame injuries. I'm sorry. And I thought the same thing in 24. When you had that many guys who took significant time out, it's hard to do what they did. And I have a champagne bottle over there because they still clinched a wild card spot. So to sit here and say that injuries don't make a difference, they do. They absolutely do. Jade, it says, what are your thoughts on being eliminated from the postseason? I am very not happy, but hey, it is what it is. Get stronger and try again next year, but what should they do? I kind of went through it earlier. I think they need to go out and solidify their rotation. They kind of went in this past year with the entire pitching staff as a big question mark, and I don't want that. I want to know who we got, and I want to feel good about it, and right now I don't. You got guys coming back, right? Schwellenbach will be back. AJ Smith-Shawver will be back. Reynaldo will be back, but he probably won't be a starter after this injury. So there's a lot of ways it can go. But honestly, I really think that they got to go out and get some starters. You got to figure out what you're going to do with shortstop. I think that needs to be a priority. We started last year thinking Orlando Arcia was going to be the guy. That didn't happen. Nick Allen, of course, took over shortly after. Ha-Seong Kim was signed late in the season. Had a great stretch. I don't know if that's enough to convince me that he's going to just be a phenomenal talent for the Braves next year, but it showed that they can find somebody that can be. And I think it was time to move on from Orlando. I think if they sign Ha-Seong Kim, great. If not, they need to find someone equal or better than him, and they need to do it soon. The bullpen, to me, is the biggest issue. No way around it. It's the biggest issue. It was a problem I pointed out before 2025. It's still a problem, and it never got really any better. The bullpen then had to try to fill in for the starting rotation that was out, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Our pitching staff, Marcell Ozuna is done as a Brave. I'm not convinced. It could happen. We could spend that money, but I think we need a shortstop before we need a DH right now. And if you can get Ozuna on a $5 million deal, they'll probably end up doing it. So we'll have to see. I'm not sure about any of that right now. Let's see. Jaden says, my thoughts is what if the manager doesn't return? In my opinion, it might be for the best, but my thoughts is that this is just the first time being eliminated for the postseason since 2017, but they could get rid of him. Well, I think it's really up to Snit. It'll be a private conversation with him and AA, and they'll talk it out and figure out if it's the best option. I don't know if it's the best option, to be honest with you. I don't know what the candidates are, but I'm not ready to sit here and say he needs to go. He's had a perfectly good tenure with the Braves. He's got more wins than losses. He's got a World Series. He's got 6 division title, whatever it is. He's been to the playoffs most of the years. He's been a tremendous manager, and he gets a lot of flack that isn't deserved. He can't solve every problem, or prevent every problem. But he's been a pretty good manager. He's been a really good manager, and the guys love playing for him. And I just am not ready to say, yeah, he needs to go. I'm not one of those people that does that. However, I will if need be, but I don't think he's there. I just don't think we're there. For me, it's who are you going to bring in after? Because if it's Freddie Gonzalez, I'm sorry. I love Freddie and what he meant to the Braves a few years ago. I don't know that I want to go down that route. If it's Walt Weiss and that's the natural progression of things, sure. If it's somebody like a Mark DeRosa, who has a radical new way of doing things, a younger way of doing things, I could get behind that in a way. But I got to know where we're going before I can tell you if I want Snit gone, right? It's like in college football, right? A lot of folks around here where I live are wanting Hugh Freeze gone. Okay, well, the same thing happened about 3 years ago, right? And they wanted that guy gone too. Before that, they wanted that guy gone, and it's a cycle. So you can't just go firing people if you don't have somebody better to take their place. That's my opinion. And I don't know who would be better than the guy who's got 45 years in the organization. I think had the Braves done well this year, Snit probably would have hung it up. But now he feels that drive again, and he wants to fix it before he leaves. He wants to leave it better than he found it. And he could be thinking, I left it a year too, I didn't do it a year too late or whatever. But all in all, he wants to leave it better than he found it. And there's something to say about that, right? I mean, there's something to say for that. All in all, I'm looking forward to having him back in 26. I expect him to be back, and until I hear otherwise, that's kind of what I'm going with. Ron Washington, we need him back. I agree. David Thatcher says Washington is sick. Washington seems to believe he can still manage. I'm not going to say he's sick until we hear something other than that. I knew he had gone through some health issues. But all in all, we'll have to see. Let's see. Vision. I purposefully tagged Vision because I know she never gets the notifications. Good to see her in the chat. Vision says, I always wish that when Snit retired that Wash would be our next manager, but that was before he went to the Angels. But I'll take him back at any position if he's well. Completely agree. Ron Washington, a consummate professional and knows the game like no other. I love him as a manager. I love him as a third base coach. I love him as, frankly, just a mentor in the clubhouse, to be honest with you. I think he's that type of dude. He could be put in any spot and find something, not only something to do, but find something to make better. And I think that could very well be the case. A lot of people are saying, get Ha-Seong Kim back. Get Pete Alonso, please. A lot of you guys want to get Pete Alonso. I got to say, that is a weird thing to hear from Braves fans. Yeah, where are you going to play Pete Alonso? He's not going to play first base. I mean, if you put him at just DH, but he's not going to want that, if I had to guess. A lot of people, and this isn't the first time hearing it. I think it was Chris Domino saying the other day that he'd love to have Pete Alonso. I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with him on the talent level. I just don't know team dynamics if he's going to be okay with just being a DH. I could be wrong, but to me, you got to figure out shortstop before you figure out first base. And we're a long way from there too. So it's going to be a long off season. We're going to follow it, but that's all I can really say. Soul Still Burns. I would want them to hire another experienced coach instead of someone else within the organization. That doesn't tend to be the case. Bobby Cox hired Freddie Gonzalez after Bobby Cox. Freddie gets fired. They hire Snit. So they've all been within the organization. We'll have to see. Braves need to hire a David Ross type person. A lot of, I was talking to somebody the other day. They suggested Brian McCann, and I like the thought of that. I don't know that Brian would do it. A lot of people, of course, suggested Chipper. Chipper's already come out and said he's got kids. He ain't doing it. I don't blame him. But there's a lot of guys that are out there that could be on the docket. And the Braves are, of course, probably going to get a really solid candidate in that spot that'll be there for a long time. That's the one thing about Ron Washington. With his age and, frankly, with his health, I don't know that the Braves would commit to him being manager for, certainly not a long time. They'd love to have him within the organization, but I don't know that they would commit to him long term, maybe as an interim, but I don't think anything beyond that, unfortunately. And I love Ron Washington. If he was 10 years younger, I'd take him in a heartbeat. But here's the thing. Brian Snitker's not gone. So until he's gone, can't really talk about this correctly. You know what I mean? He's still around. And I'm not ready to say he's gone. I don't think he should be gone. I think he's still got plenty left in the tank for one more year. John Edward Kruger. I hope you're not related to Freddie. Says the Atlanta media is too afraid to say that the Braves need a new manager. Come on, y'all. It's okay to say it. Well, hold on. I live in Alabama, so therefore I am not Atlanta media. I'm not afraid to say anything. If Snitker was doing a bad job, I would tell you that he needs to go. But again, I just went through all of my reasoning. He's not the reason this year went the way it did. He's not. Did he manage? Did he figure out how to somehow screw up the rotation and make everybody get hurt? I just don't think so. I know his contract's up, but they're still going to talk about it. We'll have to see what happens. He clearly wants to come back, based on everything I've seen. And if he wants to come back, that's half the deal. And if AA wants to extend him one more year, who am I to say otherwise? I just think that this is a guy who's earned the right to go out the way he wants. And obviously, I don't necessarily want him to go running it in the ground, but he's not. Snit's a good manager. I'd argue he's a great manager. He will be a Braves Hall of Famer. Here's the thing, guys. He's got as many World Series as Bobby Cox. He's got half as many division titles. That I'll give you, but he hasn't had as many years. He doesn't have 14 straight. I'll give you all of that. But the guy is a student of the game. He learned under one of the greats. He learned under Bobby. The organization is Bobby Cox. Okay? That's the organization. They run that way for that reason. And if you think that Snit needs to go, that's your opinion. I just don't think so. It's not a he needs to go. It's a, do the Braves, is he ready to go? And are the Braves ready for him to go? He wants to leave it better than he found it. And here's the thing, man. He sure took him to higher places. I'm sure he can do it again. So I just don't think it's going to happen. John Kruger says, there were several instances where Snit mismanaged. Well, John, with the roster he had, it's not really a good way to, I don't know that he could have not mismanaged. So all in all, I just don't think so. I've had conversations with him this year at the All-Star game, and he looks the same old Snit to me. Seems like same old Snit. And I personally think he'll be back next year. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's going anywhere. And that is based on nothing other than what I have seen him say over the past couple of weeks and what I have taken in this year. So that's just my take. But we'll see. I mean, you could be right, but I think they're going to stay with him. We'll have to see. Corey Carter, good to see you, buddy. Says, greatest postseason management I have ever seen was by Snit in 21. And it's, that's the thing, right? With any head coach, any manager of any sport, it's all based on what have you done for me lately, right? This is nothing new to me. I've been defending Snit since the dawn of time, it feels like. Snit will be remembered as a phenomenal manager. Bobby Cox is remembered as a Hall of Fame phenomenal manager. Bobby Cox mismanaged games quite a bit. It happened all the time, but he was the leader. Snit is the leader. And sometimes there are decisions made where Snit has far more information than we do, more often than not. And unless we know, it's tough to really criticize a decision. And the other thing is, it's really easy to criticize a decision in hindsight when you got the result already in front of you, right? Because, for example, let's say a certain college football coach was to decide to not kick a field goal and to try to score a touchdown. Well, if it works, he's a genius. If it doesn't work, hey, man, why didn't you just tie the game? Why didn't you just tie the game? So a lot of head coaches are going to have that, and all in all, I think it's easy to criticize when you know the result. That's all I can say. Corey Carter says, T-Red, good to see you back, brother. Hope you're enjoying the new home. I am. I hope you like the new studio. We're doing a different angle tonight. I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see. I kind of like it. It shows a little bit more of back here. We are going to do a full tour at some point. Don't know when. Working on figuring that out. I don't want to do that one, halfway. I want to do that right and show you guys everything with a nice camera and frankly a photographer who's lazy and doesn't want to come over and do it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We love you, Drew, but we're working on it. That all said, yeah, we're enjoying the new home. Obviously, we've been running around like crazy. Let me rephrase. I've been running around like crazy. Got married, moved into a house, bought a house, figuring out how to move all this stuff in. It's been quite a bit, and baseball, unfortunately, has been secondary in a lot of ways. It has helped in a way that the Braves have not been very good, so it hasn't felt as pressing to get on here. That said, I still miss it. I've missed it pretty much all the time. But I'm happy to be here tonight. And, of course, we're going to try to ramp this back up next year and be back to normal to some degree, but we'll see. Yeah, those unpaid interns, those jerks, they didn't help me at all. I mean, just, with the pay that they get, you would think they'd be more motivated, but no, they're not. Let's see. Let's scroll back up. John Kruger says, we need a new long-term manager, not a one more year in SNIT. I would disagree. I think you need one more year in SNIT, and I think after that you can make whatever decision you want, whether it's Walt Weiss, whether it's Mark DeRosa, or whatever. A lot of people, I just saw Bruce Bochy's name. Like Bruce Bochy, Hall of Famer, no doubt. But if you're making the argument that SNIT's old, Bochy ain't much younger, if at all. So, that's kind of my thing. Sergeant Gibby says, Bruce Bochy fired after 2 seasons in Atlanta. Do we have too much loyalty? And historically, where has it gotten us? It's gotten us a World Series. It's gotten us multiple division titles. It's gotten us, I don't know. What did 19 years of loyalty to Chipper Jones get us? 1 World Series, a few division titles for sure. That's my thing. It's like you can point at that. I don't view loyalty as a bad thing. And a lot of people are quick to, that dude needs to get fired. He needs to get out of this. I just am not that way. And, I brought up Hugh Freeze earlier. That's another one. That's like, if I could tell an Auburn fan, hey, hold off. At least let him build the program up. At least let him have a shot. You're going to have growing pains. You're going to have ebbs and flows. And right now we're in an ebb and not a flow. Let's see. David Thatcher says, this era of Braves is going to be like the 90s. The Braves should have won more titles. That I won't disagree with. I agree that the Braves should win more. But I don't know that SNIT's necessarily the one to blame. I think it's more, I would blame more ownership on that, money to spend. Sergeant Gibby says, when SNIT brought in Luke Jackson in Game 6 of the NLCS, I hated it, and it almost blew up in his face. Matzik bailed him out. Well, that I won't necessarily disagree with. That was probably the one time. But I'll also say, I believe that was Game 6, so we had a whole nother game. We were winning pretty early. We probably were trying to save some arms in case it went to a Game 7. But no, I don't disagree with that necessarily. I'll give you that one. Soul Still Burns. If there's a good Latin coach available, okay. David Thatcher says, with Latin players on Braves, why not a Latin manager? I'm not against that. I don't think that's the most important thing because the Braves, to be honest with you, have a really diverse clubhouse. Everybody's represented in there. It's very diverse. You could have a Latin manager, but you have guys from, the Dominican. You have guys from Venezuela. You have a lot of guys that are in there from all different kinds of places. I don't know how much that necessarily matters. I think if you want to argue something along those lines, you have a lot of young guys in there. If you want to make the argument, you have a lot of young guys in the clubhouse. Why not have a young guy or a younger guy? And I think that could be the right move after SNIT, right? I also think having that kind of maturity could be good. Will Eddie Perez get a shot? I think if Eddie Perez wants a shot, he'll get one. But I don't know that, love Eddie Perez, especially when he fought Paul Bird. That was great. And I have a funny Eddie Perez story I could tell you in a minute. But, I'll tell it in a minute. Either way, I'm not necessarily opposed to Eddie getting a shot. I don't know that he'd be interested in managing. I think he likes the role he's in. But, everybody would like to get promoted, right? Corey Carter says, would not be crazy to me to trade Acuna. Now, that's interesting. Acuna, of course, this has been talked about over the past couple of years. Should Acuna be traded? Well, I don't know about that. Acuna is definitely the guy that when you think about the Braves comes to mind. Him and a few others, but mainly him. He's the MVP. He's your guy. He's the guy that stole 70 bases and, had 40 homers and all that, right? He's the guy. So I don't know that I'd be ready to just trade off Acuna. I'd have to have a hell of a return, and I just don't know that we're going to get that. It's not crazy, especially with 2 bad legs now, and that kind of it's not a crazy suggestion, to be honest with you. I hope we don't. I hope we stick with who we got, because I do believe in this team, and I think Acuna specifically is going to be a great asset to have over the next few years. But it's not crazy. Everybody's expendable, right? No matter how important you are at your work, you're expendable. At the end of the day, you can be replaced. Will we get a player that does what Acuna does? I don't think so. Could we get 5 players that do a little more than what Acuna does? Possibly. It's all how you look at it. I don't think we will, but, nothing is that crazy in baseball. That's kind of my take. So, the Eddie Perez story. Let's tell. I'm going to regret telling it, but we're going to tell it anyway. All right. So, a lot of times when I go to cover the Braves, it's typically on the weekends. And more than that, it's typically on a Sunday. There's less media there. It's a little slower paced at the ballpark. I get there in the morning. I'm home by, early afternoon typically. So it's always been better for me to go on Sundays. Well, I tell you that to tell you, I messed up a few years ago. First time I ever went on a Sunday. The media room is down in the tunnel, beneath the concourse. There's a big tunnel that goes all the way around the park. And the media room is where the press conferences happen. That's where we typically put all our stuff. We set up a tripod for the post-game press conference, and we leave all our camera equipment down there as opposed to taking it to the press box where it's going to take up space. This is what TV people typically do at the Braves games. I tell you that to tell you, I go in there, and I have a wagon that holds my camera, my tripod, my lights, all that stuff. And I open the door, don't think anything of it, and I start backing up. And I turn around, and I realize I just walked into the front of a Catholic Mass. You heard that correctly, a Catholic Mass. The Braves, to their credit, have a lot of different religious ceremonies on Sunday mornings. They have Bible study, they have Catholic Mass, they have religious music playing throughout the stadium. To their credit, God bless the USA. We love that. I just didn't know about it. And I turn around, I'm looking at Eddie Perez. I believe it was Walt Weiss, maybe a couple other people in there. I'm not sure exactly, but I remember Eddie Perez. And the Catholic priest is at the front, and I am next to him, and I could not get out of there fast enough. I am doing everything I can to force my way back the other way. I finally get out. I am super embarrassed. A Braves employee, who will remain nameless, comes up to me to try to make me feel better. It did not work. Eddie Perez walks out and goes, "Come on in, you're good." It was embarrassing. I'm just gonna put it that way. Very embarrassing. Funny moment, but I will tell you that I triple check every time I walk into that room now. So it was a funny memory. That's my one Eddie Perez story. Hopefully, I have a few more over the next few years. Do we know how Johnny is doing? Johnny. I need some last names, Corey. Help me out. Soul Still Burns. I wouldn't mind seeing Acuna become the DH because he's injury prone. I think that's possible. To be honest with you, I thought that was the natural transition. I still don't know why we did not trade Marcell Ozuna unless we just couldn't get anything for him. According to Anthopoulos, we didn't even try, basically. And nothing ever came of it. So, all in all, I don't know, but it's not crazy to think that Acuna could potentially go to DH. I kind of think that's the natural transition for him after Ozuna. I just don't know if the Braves are going to try to get one more year out of Ozuna. We'll have to wait and see. Corey Carter. Okay, talking about Johnny Estrada. Johnny Estrada, good friend of mine, by the way. We love Johnny. Johnny's doing well. He's coaching baseball And I saw him at the All-Star game. I'm not going to tell the story. No, I'm not going to tell the story. Johnny's a good dude. I'll just leave it at that. Johnny's a good dude. He's helped me quite a bit and introduced me to people and, helping me along the way. And we appreciate Johnny. I can tell you, Johnny's doing well. He's coaching a high school team, Heritage Baseball. Super approachable, by the way. But, if you want to see a former Braves player coaching a high school baseball team, Heritage Baseball in Noonan. He's down there coaching. He's doing well. Like I said, we love Johnny to death. That said, guys, we've officially crossed the hour mark, and I'm going to go head to bed here pretty soon. We appreciate you guys. Again, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for listening to my stories. And again, thank you. You guys are some of my most loyal supporters. I know you're out there, Corey, Vision, all of you guys, Sergeant Gibby, David Thatcher. I know who you are. You guys watch all the time. We really appreciate it. The fact that you guys are watching on, 2 days after the season ends, really appreciate it. Videos are to come out soon. More live streams will happen soon. We will do an in-studio tour at some point. You can see most of it, but we'll do an in-studio tour. There's more over there and stuff you can't really see the details of over here. So we will see, but we're going to get that done. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Please, on your way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything we got going on here, and we really do appreciate it. Also, go check out our friends, GLYNN Smith, Chevrolet GMC in Opelika, Alabama. If you need a vehicle, they are the place to go. I can certainly tell you that. You will leave with a smile. They've been a really good sponsor for us over the past couple of years, and we hope that they'll continue to do so into year 3. David Thatcher and Sergeant Gibby, I'm going to answer these two for you. When Braves' current local TV deal ends, it's undervalued. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't use TV. I use Fubo. And honestly, I watch it mainly at the office. Sergeant Gibby says, the season's been over, to be fair. Yeah, my YouTube analytics say the same thing, unfortunately. Yeah, you're not wrong. Corey, thank you. Sergeant Gibby, thank you. David Thatcher, thank you. Vision, thank you. If I missed anybody, Soul Still Burns, thank you. William, thank you. We really do appreciate it. One more time, go check out our friends over at GLYNN Smith, and we will see you next time right here at On Deck. Appreciate it, guys.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.